the Joe in on what he missed last session.
Have you seen the original Jaws movie?
No.
Amy is offended.
What?
Yeah,
How have you not seen
I mean,
Jaws?
I haven't either, so...
Same.
It did not.
All of you. How do you get on me for literally anything but y'all haven't seen Jaws?
It's scary.
It's not.
When I was very little, it freaked me out, and then as I grew older and started to appreciate horror movies, I got annoyed by how incredibly ugly the fake shark looked. And I was
Leave
like,
Bruce
that
alone
is
right now.
very
How
dumb
dare
looking.
you say that to him?
Fun story.
How-
My
how
mom
fucking
watched
dare you.
fucking Jaws when she was very, very young. Her babysitter was watching it, and she watched it without her babysitter knowing, and she was scared of all sources of water for a couple of weeks afterward, including the toilet and the tub.
Oh my god. Anyway, we fought Space Jaws, and Trixie almost got fucking one-shotted and eaten.
I believe
But
the
we
term is
won.
one shot.
Well, if
So
she had died,
Trixie-
yes, that would have been accurate.
Yeah,
Almost got one shot.
almost. But we won. If I remember correctly, looking back at the notes, we had 3 separate plans, and we decided to just do all of them.
Good.
Which I will say, as a late thinking over, I was greatly amused by how y'all handled that situation, so you all could have inspiration if you do not already have one.
Yes!
Hey!
Hey! Let's fucking go! Right, here we go. We had like 3 different plans. Try to spear it and tie it down with ropes. Make an explosion. Explosive device using bait. Or just hide and just start fucking attacking it. And then we just did all 3.
Good.
Button made a zombie fish. Which we
Okay.
strapped a bomb to.
Okay.
Rest in peace. Zombie rest in pieces. More like rest in paste, actually. And
which they then lured Big Mama with, who ate the fish, and it blew up inside her.
Yep.
Taking out a big chunk of health. Congratulations.
Hell yeah. And beat it. After which, Lily and Button, assisting her, start harvesting. Yeah, Lily has 14 scaver steaks now.
Lily has all the meat she's gonna need for a little while.
Yeah, like, dude, she's fucking kitted out.
And these stacks are like half of Lily's size, so she's got a mountain of meat.
Meat it up.
Also, Piper, I hope you kept track of all the things that Lily got. It's in the notes.
All I got was a steak, right?
No,
No,
you
I
didn't.
also got a knife, but
And a throat tube and 13 scaver teeth.
yeah.
Yeah, you rolled a nat 20 on your check to harvest shit from the scaver, so you got a lot of shit.
You got your fucking money's worth. Topla brought out lemonade. Button is steadily approaching cryptid status. And while we're all vibing, chilling, Trixie and Micken spot in the distance, in the astral sea, something dark and amorphous, a storm, very quickly approaching.
Storm be approaching.
It
There's
is
a
provoking
storm
black clouds in isolation.
Is that a good recap, Z?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Joe, if we can swap to something spookier.
Yes.
Spooky? Spooky vibes?
Might actually work pretty well.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Adventurers down your spine.
So, as And also, what the fuck?
That was Mr. Amy.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go close the door.
Oh, it's been a hot second since I heard that noise out of Mr. Amy.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I don't like to ask anymore. Oh, football game.
Makes sense.
Mm-mm-mm.
I wonder if
And
the ball went across a line or if it went across a different line.
so, and I will say for your sake, Joe, Booker was left up at the top of the tower because he managed to fall asleep in the research. And it was just decided, you know what, he needs the sleep. He can stay there.
He needs his brood time.
Um, so he was unconscious for most all of it. Imagine you woke up towards the tail end, noticed nobody was around, had to wait for the elevator to come back up and then go back down, and you're coming out right as like Trixie just gets coughed up, and they start harvesting this giant ass scaver that would take up like the entire corner almost of this um asteroid.
All of this.
hmm And
Ooh.
joined in the little uh, interactions to some extent of Tappa bringing out lemonade and Button learning that just like opening your gullet and pouring the entire glass down in one go is not considered polite. Um,
Mm,
but yes, Micken and Trixie do kind of look out past the dock, past the transparent edge of realm space into the astral sea beyond and standing out against the silvery purple gray of the astral sea. There is at first, not quite sure what it is, as it's just as kind of amorphous and shifting as the astral sea itself. But then it starts to grow as it grows closer and closer. You start to realize it is a storm cloud that is starting to spread and take up more and more of what you might call the horizon beyond as it approaches the edge of realm space. You can see flashes of neon blue and green lightning arcing within the cloud itself. And this is not completely abnormal. It is a rare occurrence, as storms coming from the astral sea into wild space spheres on the very edges of the spheres does happen. Usually there is some greater cause to kick up the storms, um, as there is no true weather within the astral sea. Usually it's some large source of energy, of shifting, and of change that just coalesces and drags in energy and matter until a storm forms and it drifts through until the energy is spent. Sometimes that might be minutes, sometimes that could be days, sometimes for particularly large events, it can be years. And as you all are staring at this storm, uh, Booker and Lily, you guys can roll either nature or arcana or history.
go with Arcana. That's a rough one. That is an 8.
Okay. Booker, as you're staring at this, you've never encountered one of these storms personally. You've heard tale about them in your sailing, and you can only imagine that for something that is moving as quickly as this storm is and spreading as rapidly as it is, it's probably some event that has happened relatively recently rather than a long time ago. As storms, when they lose their energy over time, start to slow and stop growing and just drift instead. Lily, you have encountered one or two in the very, very early days of your traveling. Um, they are always a bit of a handful to deal with, but they are not any more or less dangerous, really, than a standard storm on a sea might be. And as you look at this cloud and watch it as your attention is brought over to it, you can kind of surmise something similar to Booker, that this storm is the result of some sort of dust up or event that happened in the astral sea fairly recently. But as you kind of squint at it and watch and see the colors and the patterns of the lightning, you realize that it's not just a storm. This is a storm that was probably caused by bloodshed, as the only other time you've seen lightning of that particular pale shade in one of these storms was as the result of a battle.
Huh. It has been a long time since I've seen a bloodstorm. I wonder what is going on in the nearby planets.
A what storm?
A bloodstorm?
Oh hell, that doesn't sound. That doesn't sound like anything we need to be caught up in.
I consider it the residue of conflict in nearby areas. Normally, when there is a lot of death.
Well, we best be shoving off then. Unless we got something else to be here for.
I quite agree. Let us be off. Did you get the focus from the image?
Uh,
Mm,
d- d- did I?
Topa's like kind of leaning in the doorway and is watching. She tilts her head slightly. Nobody's got anything. Blah blah. What was the accent I gave her?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, is it Southern Bellish? Okay. No, nobody's gotten anything from me. Not yet. All of you are also more than well, more than welcome to stay out the storm here if you like. At least you got solid ground under your feet.
Will this place survive a storm like that?
Oh, it's survived storms like this for hundreds of years now. I doubt this one's gonna be any different.
Well, it strangely is comforting to Booker. He seems a little bit more appeased. Though he is still a little nervous. But we. So, feel free to not give me this info, DM. But would it be too, like, a would it be possible to like, is do we have to wait to get the stuff from her, whatever, like the focus we need, so that we can get to where we're going, or we
Yeah,
do we
you
can
like
we?
you guys have earned it, so you can have it now. You can just grab it and try to run, but by the time you grab it and get underway, the storm will be very close.
Yeah, it might be better to be safe than sorry.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Then, if you don't mind us checking up here for a few, wait out the storm and see what comes after.
And she nods and kind of gestures behind her. Why don't y'all just lash your ship down there to the back of the asteroid? Should be more than enough cover there to, well, make sure it avoids most of everything that's going to come. Probably still going to have a few soggy beds by the end of it, but yeah, nobody ever said sailing was going to be the easy life.
If that were the case, everyone would do it.
She smiles and nods, kind of pointing at Trixie. I'll set up a couple cots around everywhere and see if we can get y'all settled and get y'all a little bit more rest.
Well, Button has found a new task. Secure the ship.
And
So that is what they are going to do.
between all of you, it doesn't take too long to try and lash down the ship towards the back edge, a wall of the asteroid, kind of like a ladybug hanging off the rear end of it.
Aw.
Kind of like if you're over here on the main map, like just kind of like you're tied down to some rocks and stuff there.
Hanging on for dear life.
Yep. But with how the asteroid's moving and the storm is moving, the asteroid will get hit by whatever the storm is going to do before the ladybug does. And right as you all are finishing tying down, who went to help with the ship, and did anybody go back to the tower and stay in the tower and let everybody else handle it?
I will be helping the ship, helping secure the ship.
I will secure the ship as well.
It's our ship. We got to take care of it.
Okay, so everybody went to help with the ship. And even while you all are securing the ship and kind of tying it down and making sure that the shell is closed over the more delicate wing sails, Crux and Flinch essentially tie down a giant like crate over the top of Starbow, so that Starbow is more protected, sitting there on the deck. He's not happy about it, but he accepts the extra protection. Boy can't move that fast right now. He's too deep in this deck.
Oh.
No, my computer came unplugged. Hold on.
Oh no.
But as you all finish and start kind of climbing your way back onto the flat ground of the asteroid and heading towards the tower, the storm finally breaches the wild space sphere. And there's just this moment that all of you kind of watch as the dark clouds and lightning, now just about as far as you can see in any direction, kind of come and thrash against the bubble-like transparent crystal of realm space. And kind of, you can see the swirling mists and the lightning cracks that are stopped by the sphere for a moment. And you see clouds kind of wrapping around. And then finally there's just one more crack. And with that burst of energy from the lightning, the storm starts to spill into wild space proper. And the swirling colors that you are used to being surrounded by start to fade away as they mix with the dark grays and blacks of this storm cloud. And the air almost instantly feels charged to all of you. You can feel the hair on your arms standing up and just that kind of like tingle down your back as lightning doesn't hit the asteroid or the tower even, just cracks and flashes through the air around. And you all rush towards the entrance to the tower, trying to find safety and cover. And as you do so, I need perception checks at disadvantage for all of you.
Oh boy.
Mhm. Huh.
Your disadvantage has no effect on me. I'm equally bad at both of them.
Ouch, that hurts.
Fucking Lily and Booker. Man. What the hell?
Hey, Trixie, let's go!
Okay.
Buddies.
I mean, my disadvantage got me an 11.
Oh, I saw the 20. I didn't see the 11.
Yeah, the disadvantage
Well,
hurts, man.
I was gonna say Trixie's actually really interested in the storm. Is probably like watching through the windows.
Trixie, as you're running back towards the tower with everybody, you're the very tail end. And hold on. Let me find my place here. Was scrolled to the wrong sections. Okay. So, as you're running at the very tail end of the pack, kind of making sure the shorties and the terrified get inside safely. Kind of like throw a look over your shoulder and you see, silhouetted by the crack of lightning, an outline that at first you're pretty sure that it's just some trick of the eye, some swirling pattern, and as another lightning flashes, no, that's a ship. That's a large ship. It's a galleon. Sails torn and flapping and barely hanging on. Sailing with the storm and heading directly towards the asteroid.
Does it? So it looks like it's what gonna crash into it?
It doesn't seem to be out of control, like you might expect something to be in the middle of this storm.
Are there any other details I can make out from this ship?
Give me a straight d20.
Huh?
remarkably consistent. As you kind of pause in the doorway and squint, staring at this silhouette, trying to keep an eye on where this darker section of the storm seems to be, and waiting for another flash of lightning to illuminate it. You wait and take a breath, and right as you let out an exhale, there's another crack of green lightning flashing through the air, and you can see illuminated in the rigging moving figures stand out for just the briefest moment as eerily pale against the darkness of the storm.
These figures on the rigging to our ship?
No, to the galleon.
Okay,
You
okay, I want to
guys,
make sure.
if you look at the big tower on the left side of the page,
Mm-hmm.
you guys are either in the doorway where Trixie is or inside the actual tower. Your ladybug ship, let me just do this, is like down here.
Hold on, zoom out. Where? Oh, down there. Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Trixie will, like, she'll stand in the hall, like the entryway, not quite inside, but like at the very edge, and basically say, guys, there's a ship out there. And it doesn't seem like it's in distress. Like it's moving with storm, not trying to get away from it, right?
It's moving. You would, with those two 19s, it's moving a little faster than the storm. So it could be trying to outpace it, but it is also not like doing a kind of a standard go parallel, or not parallel, perpendicular, and like try to go to the side of the storm to get out of it.
Hmm. Can I get the spyglass from someone? Whoever has it? Maybe we can get more info on these.
Booker, hearing that there is a ship riding the storm, will say, "That's impossible," and then walk over and spyglass out to see the ship.
And it takes you a second to, again, for lightning to flash and illuminate and find this place in it. You do pretty easily, now that Trixie has pointed it out, see the ship. If you would like to try and see more details on the ship, you will need a perception check.
I will try. Still a disadvantage?
No, you are inside now and you are nowhere to look. So it's a straight.
Does my passive perception help at all with any of these checks?
Your
Because I
passive
have
perception.
observant.
That is true. Okay, roll me a d20, just flat.
Flat 20. Get out of here.
Okay. As you're looking through this spyglass, you, just like Trixie, see this space galleon flying in the midst of this storm. Its sails ripped and shredded in places and barely hanging on in others. Yet they are unfurled in what you realize is supposed to be a full mast, full sail. And you see the pale figures in the rigging, and as you kind of tilt the spyglass, lowering it down, following down the rigging down towards the deck, you see there's multiple of these figures, at least from a brief kind of glimpse that you see in this quick movement, at least 4 or 5. And on the deck, there's just this moment of movement that catches your eye, and there is something massive on the deck, though you can't quite make it out. And as you try to adjust, trying to find that figure or that thing again, you see that the galleon is overall in a very similar state to the sails. It looks like it has been through hell and back somehow. Though, looking at the boards along the sides, along the hull of the ship, not all of them seem to be new. Not all of the broken boards and holes look like they have been just recently blasted in or made. Some of them do, but others, you know what wear and tear on a ship looks like. And those are holes that have been left.
Booker, mouth slightly agape, will pull the spyglass down from his eye and hand it to Trixie.
Trixie will take a look.
You see the same thing Booker did.
I hope I'm not dumb in saying this, but like, is that a ghost ship?
I never heard of no ghost ship. Have you?
Well, they got the aesthetic down, if it is.
Topa kind of tilts her head. She's kind of peeking around the edge of the door frame, watching. Her massive hat has been retrieved from the top floor in all of this. However, she, as soon as she moved towards the door, flew off, and so now she is just holding it very carefully, allowing the little half bird nest that was built on the edge of the brim to remain upright, though there is no bird in it currently. And she kind of squints out and just tilts her head. Pale blonde hair kind of falling in her face, though she's not even bothered to move it. Well, if you've never heard of ghost ship, you ain't gone far enough out into the weirdness yet.
I mean, like, there's stories. I just thought it was just, to scare kids.
She just kind of smiles. Yeah, some of them certainly are, especially when you talk about on planets, but out there, and she kind of gestures out towards the astral sea. Remember, out there, it's a plane where thoughts are real.
Should we prepare for a battle or something? Or will it just fly by, you think?
Seen this ship before?
She'll kind of gesture grabby hand at the spyglass.
Trixie will hand it over.
And she lifts the spyglass up. You can see her kind of weight. And at this point, the galleon is close enough that you can see its outline very easily in the midst of this storm. But just the darkness that has overtaken Wild Space, which is, to those of you who have spent an extended period in Wild Space, is disconcerting, as it is almost always bright enough to see anywhere in Wild Space that you go. But now it's dark and shadowed. She waits. There's another flash, and you can see her kind of scan over the galleon. And there's just the smallest kind of tightening of her lips and a little frown. And she lowers the spyglass and hands it over to Booker, since he was the one that originally had it. She shakes her head. I don't think it's gonna be attacking none. This place is just gonna get a lot more crowded than it was supposed to be.
What do you mean? Do you mean they're coming in here? He points like to the ground.
And she kind of looks over to Booker with a little nod, kind of moves off of the door frame. You can see her start to move towards the autognomes, who have been setting up essentially a cots around the edge of this first floor, and very carefully, evenly spaced, so everybody has the same area to sleep in as everybody else. And she just kind of moves over towards one of them, leans down, kind of whispering to them, and you see two of them immediately break off from what they're doing and go on the elevator up. Though which floor they're heading towards, you're not quite sure. And she turns back. Well, I guess it's a fated meeting for all of you. All you heading off to Doom Space and dealing with the Xerxian Empire and everything. I suppose if y'all are looking for a little bit of extra help, Garganhall would actually be one that you need to talk to.
Garganhall.
And she nods. Grimzard Garganhall. He'll be the one that's on that ship. I will type that out for you.
Thank you. I was close.
As she mentions that name, Button and Lily, as you guys are kind of further away from the door, closer towards them, roll me insight really fast. Both of you kind of are watching this interaction, and you feel as she says that name, kind of shifts behind you, and you both look up towards Flinch and Crux. In Flinch, though he never truly looks happy, he looks a little brighter. Just a little, like there's a little extra energy to him. Crux, however, you can see his shoulders just kind of drop a few inches, and he looks tired.
I mean, Booker will
Interesting.
look at Crux and be like, "Do you know this name, Grimzod?"
And Crux looks over towards you, and you could see the kind of the muscles working in his jaw, almost like he's chewing on his words, trying to consider what to say. And before he can speak, Flinch pipes up. Yeah, we know Grimzod. Space pirate. Technically, an admiral, if you want to call him that. Had an entire fleet, last time I heard.
Admiral. Well, he looks a little shy of a fleet, just by the look of it. And Booker looks back out. There's just the one ship, right?
As far as
The
you
one
can tell.
galleon. Yeah.
Topla just nods. Well, if all he's got left is the last breath, that might explain this storm. I should warn all of you, especially two of you, and she looks over to Crux and Flinch. There's been some changes about Grimzod since the last time you saw him. He, well, let's just say his relationship with the land of the living is a little bit more strained than it used to be. And Crux kind of looks over and tilts his head. And she just kind of waves a hand in the air, kind of dismissively. You'll see. Yes, Amy.
What?
I
I
heard
Yeah.
I heard a noise like you were preparing to speak.
You don't know that. I feel so called out. What the fuck?
I know what the little inhale means.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking here. I feel like Button's interest is piqued with that statement, and their eyes just like turn to Topla, and they raise up a hand. It's like, I have questions.
And Topla's like eyes drift down towards Button with this kind of like bemused expression. I am not surprised, I'm not gonna lie. What are the questions?
Can you define the strained relationship?
She looks towards the doorway, looks back towards Button. Well, last time I checked, he was a vampire as most of his crew were. A couple of other flavors of undead amongst them, but mostly vampires.
A bit of a snort from Booker, and he just goes, "Vampirate."
She shrugs. And above table, that's exactly what they're called.
Yeah, fucking
Yes, let's fucking go!
there are a set of vampire stat blocks.
Let's fucking go! Button writes down, opens to a new page. How do you spell that? Do you use one P or two? Is there a proper spelling?
Well, considering the fact that they're the only ones that I know, and
I will ask them.
I don't think any of them really care to write that down. So, however you want to spell it.
I will use one P. How long ago was this?
She kind of crosses her arms and tilts her head. Let me double check if there's a time range on this.
Sorry, Z. You've hit undead
I
with
know.
the fungus druid.
There is not a specific time here. So she just kind of gives like a one shoulder shrug. About 5 years ago or so. Of course, that's an estimation. Grimzard's always been a little bit more of a favorite of the Astral Sea, and time works a little weird there.
Button nods. My mind just fucking blanked for a second. Sorry, I'm recalibrating. Fucking winding back up the VHS tape.
Seems on brand for Button.
Oh my god.
See, now I'm just imagining Button when Button's like thinking has the VHS like rewind sound effect.
Yeah, when something catches them off guard and they're like, wait a second, they're connecting things, just a to sound inside of them. Looks. And they will be friendly.
She kind of. You see just a very hard to read expression on her face. Well, if they know what's good for them, they're gonna be friendly as long as they're here.
Not.
Well, I mean, if they don't mean any harm, more the merrier, right?
And Topla nods. And while they're here, you might as well talk to them because they ain't no friends of the Empire either. But I'll let them tell you all about that. And only a few minutes later, the galleon comes alongside the asteroid, and you are able to get your first good, clear look at it.
Oh.
As
You zoom out. Oh,
It is not even a spell jamming ship. It is a ship.
that's what galleons are.
I was
Mhm.
expecting like at least a little bit of spell jamming up to a galleon, but no, man, this is straight up a galleon that just fucking got yeeted into space, which is wild.
it's
These
treasure planet.
vampirates, they know what they're about. They're the dead
Hell
men tell
yeah.
no tales on the high astral sea.
Let's fucking go.
They've got a fucking vibe they need to put out, and they, you know what, they're doing it.
as the galleon comes relatively level with the asteroid and the dock. Not touching, but close enough that there's a couple of lines that get thrown out to hook over rocks and outcroppings. You can see the movement of several pale figures dressed in dark clothing as they unfurl or furl up the sails again and tuck them away and adjust the rigging and the ropes. And amongst that movement for the harder to do jobs, you see what you can only assume is an ogre of some sort heaving the heaviest lines and moving the rudder on the ship and adjusting everything. And at the very front of the ship, with a clear line of sight towards the doorway, you see a figure step forward and kind of up onto the railing. Is a white-haired, slim man with a barred metal mask covering the lower half of his face. And as he reaches up one hand to hold a line to steady himself, you can't help but notice the other hand move, shifting from where it's supposed to be at the base of the arm, and then detaching itself and skittering up over his chest to sit on his shoulder.
Gross.
And as Topla kind of pokes her head out of the entryway to the tower, staring at him, the pointer finger and middle finger of the hand lift and kind of wiggle in what almost looks like a wave towards her. And this is the figure that you see.
Well, Felix, cool.
He's got a fucking Hannibal Lecter ass mask.
I was thinking more like Bane. But his hand just straight up detached
Yep.
and moved to his shoulder and just
Yep.
like little wave.
He's got a thing.
See, most pirates have a parrot. This guy's got his own fucking hand. His right hand
Yeah.
man. But
He's got a thing. He's got an Addams Family thing.
Hell yeah. Okay, sorry. Well, I
Booker will
imagine.
give a two-finger
Second.
salute.
Trixie is a little starry-eyed. So cool.
I imagine where everyone just crowded into the doorway, all peeking out, and just at knee level is just.
And while all of you are crowding towards the door, Flinch and Crux stood back. They know what they are expecting to see. But you do hear just the very soft metal clicks of Crux beginning to clean his gun.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
And as the crowd, all these heads pop around the corner, Garganhall kind of lifts his voice to be heard over the swirling winds of the storm. and just very calmly, very plainly states, "Hail there, everyone. I see you're, well, you have more company than you normally do, Topla. And those of you closest to Topla can see just again that kind of tightening of the mouth. And without asking, Garganhall kind of jumps off of the ship. And you see him reach up as he at first seems to fall into the gap between the ship and the asteroid before a gloved hand reaches up and grabs one of the lines that have been thrown over the boulders and slides the extra few feet that he needs to where as he lets go, his feet land directly on the flat surface of the tower's asteroid. He starts walking closer. Eyes specifically on Topla now. Can't say that I was expecting this, my darling. Usually you're such a loner. And Topla just hear this little exhale from her, a kind of this sucking on the teeth, and shakes her head. She turns around, she walks back inside. And as she does so, y'all can roll me insight.
We out here trying. 18's pretty good.
Another 18.
Okay.
24.
As he walks, or as Topla turns around and heads back inside, and this figure continues to walk closer and closer, the moment she turns and disappears through the door, there is almost a kicked puppy look that flashes across his face before it goes back to this kind of calm and confident expression.
And who saw that?
Everybody except Lily.
Okay. Aw. Well, sorry, good.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if no one else greets him first, Button's gonna do some weird shit. This is your formal warning.
Booker,
Well, I mean-
Booker will step forward, and he will sort of straighten himself up, very casually dust himself off, and extend a hand and be like, "Sarpen Booker, I'm the captain of the ship that's currently tapered down on the underside of this here rock."
Rimzod comes up the steps, stands in front of you, and he's a very slim figure. Not unhealthy, but he doesn't seem to have the strength you might expect of a sailor. At least physically. Does stand about 2 or 3 inches taller than Booker. He reaches out and accepts the handshake and wraps cold, almost taloned fingers around Booker's for a few, 2, 3 good shakes before he lets go. Captain Grimzod Garganhall, at your service. And as he says that, there's just a brief pause, and the hand on his shoulder insistently lifts a finger and taps a couple of times. And he glances, and you can see his eyes shift from what you thought were brown to a deep, darker red in the proper light as he looks to the hand and looks back towards you and kind of tilts his head in the direction of the hand. And Lefty.
Lefty. Booker will take a sidestep in a kind of gesture to the rest of the crew and say, "Here, we have Trixie, the first mate." I can't remember the role I gave Trixie. I gave everyone a role and I can't remember what it was.
You did. If you want, I can pull it up.
That's fine. No, it's just he'll introduce everyone by name and their position that they had held before, and go down the line. So first Trixie, then Button, Liliana, and Micken's here, right?
Yeah, Micken is more
Yeah.
behind the door frame than everybody else, but he is kind of head poked out watching.
And then Booker will point at Micken and be like, "And Micken."
And Grimzod nods and looks at everybody in turn as they're introduced, the single nod towards each of them. Oh, pleasure, I suppose. Am I to be kept out in the storm this entire time, or am I allowed in?
The passive so above table, he the passive assumption is that he was allowed in and he has been here before, and it's a little dicey, but he'll behave.
Yes.
So Booker will take a step back and make room to let him come all the way in if he had not, just to make it clear, he's welcome in.
It's just like everybody has crowded into the doorway. He needs people to move to get in. So
Button
he
will take a few steps back, but Button's attention is thoroughly trained on him and Lefty.
Go ahead.
Oh, Trixie is kind of at the door frame. Will step back, but is kind of still poking her head to look at him. She's really interested in this guy.
Starstruck.
He's never met a vampire before.
And a pirate too. A space pirate and a vampire.
Exactly.
All of it to one.
As everybody kind of makes way for him, he steps inside and kind of runs a hand through his hair, straightening it back out from where it's been made a mess by the wind, and kind of looks around and spots Crux and Flinch. And there's a very kind of weighted moment where nothing is said, but all three of them are looking at each other before Flinch steps forward and offers a hand, and Grimzod shakes it heartily, and even though he has no hand on his left arm, kind of does the gesture as if to take Flinch's hand between his own. Still up and moving. I thought you'd be eaten by a scaver by now. And Flinch just kind of snorts. If I'm here about 3 hours earlier, I probably would have been. And Grimzod there's this almost breathy hiss of a chuckle as he looks towards Crux who is still cleaning his gun very methodically. And you see him look Crux up and down, head to toe and back, and then a single nod. And a very quiet, Crux, good to see you off of Brawl. And just a non-committal, almost grunt from Crux. And as he kind of takes that in stride and turns to look for Topla, she has gone and starts setting up a couple of more cots and is helping the autognomes now with this. And he watches her for a moment before he shakes his head and turns back to look at all of you, almost seeming to dismiss trying to talk to her for the moment. So, what brings all of you out to the edge of space?
We killed a shark. Would you like some sashimi?
Wait, you killed a shark? Actually, no. I'm just gonna assume that Booker, everyone was aware, or everyone told Booker that
Yes.
what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
He saw the corpse.
Yeah, he saw the corpse. And he kind of blinks and looks at Liliana. Is Liliana on her own, or is she up on somebody's shoulder?
She is on a booker currently.
He kind of tilts his head, and you can see him not so much considering her words, but considering her. Before he finally shakes his head slightly. You'll forgive me, I'm not one to stomach solids much anymore.
Oh, that's okay. Why are you here? Are you here for your meeting with the Mrs.
As soon as you say that, Topla kind of, her head pops up and turns your direction. I know, but he have no meeting with me, not well. Yala, but he certainly if you have no meeting with me. And there is just the tiniest flinch from Grimzod. And he kind of crosses his arms and shakes his head. Unfortunately, I am not looking for the pleasure of company right now. More looking for safe harbor for a moment.
Not safe harbor from the storm, I take it. You seem to be doing pretty good, despite the storm being the way it is.
Again, he shakes his head. No. Safe harbor to regroup before I have to go deal with the damn Captain Vale.
Is that a name Booker recognizes?
No.
Tilts his head. Captain Vale? Friend of yours, I take it?
And he kind of tilts his head and steps a little closer. And there is a moment where you're not sure what he is doing. It's hard to tell exactly what his expression is with the mask that remains on his face. And then you hear a very faint sniffing sound. And you realize he is kind of shifting from one to the other of you, scenting you. tilts his head the other direction and when he reaches the last one. For he kind of glances over his shoulder towards Crux. I'm assuming if you are flying with Crux here, then you all have had a run-in with the Empire.
Yeah, pretty much.
May have run into them once or twice.
Didn't we knock like 5 of them out?
Yes.
That was fun.
And he seems to consider that for a moment as examining your faces as you say this. Vale is the damn scourge of the Zarshian Empire in the Astral Sea. He has been picking off anybody that dares disrupt their ranks of the Astral Elven army. And in turn, we've been trying to pick him off as well. And as he says that, you see Crux's head go up, and Flinch kind of looks back towards him. Very serious expression on his face. And Crux kind of still, like, sitting in a chair, gun taken apart in a couple pieces in his lap, kind of puts both of his hands on top of them to keep them steady, keep them from falling, but stops what he's doing. You were telling me Vale is out and about again? And without looking at him, Grimzod nods. And Crux just kind of mutters under his breath. It's hard to hear exactly what he's saying, but the tone and ferocity of the words, you're pretty sure it is some sort of curse.
I have a question.
You see the kind of dark red eyes drift down towards you, and just a single pale brow lift.
Hello. Button does like a little wave, and they hold up a little scroll parchment paper with their nearly endless quill pen that they have been fucking abusing. How do you spell fail? Is it like the word, or is it different? These are for my notes.
There's just this like slow blink. And then Lefty starts to scuttle down his chest, down his leg, over towards Button. And
Hello.
essentially jumps up to snatch the quill.
Was thinking jump.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Button is just like, just looking. Okay. Button will crouch down. It's not very far, but they will crouch down and hold the book out to Lefty.
In this very bitery, almost scratchy, still very much legible, but this very odd handwriting. It'll write out Veil for you. It's Vael.
Ah, thank you. All right. Sorry, I realized I could just have Button asking character because they would also want to know the spelling. V-A-E-L or E-A-L?
Vael.
V-A-E-L. Button nods to Lefty. Thank you. Holds out small hand to shake.
As you say thank you, it just kind of drops the quill. It shifts into a thumbs up. And when you hold a hand out to shake, it just extends a single finger.
We'll grab finger because it's like a normal sized hand, right?
Yes.
Yeah, grab finger to shake. A good 1-2 before Button picks back up the quill. You are very helpful. Thank you. Button turns back to Grimzod, quill at the ready. They have been taking notes this whole time, and Button just gesture of like, go on. I would like more information about this veil.
Grimzod just kind of tilts his head. Well, Vale is the commander to the... Well, I don't know what they call it exactly, but you could call it the Expeditionary Force for the Zarshians. Only pops his ugly head out when it's time for them to destroy a new system.
Follow-up question. Two questions. May I directly quote you? And two, is his head ugly, or is that just your opinion?
And as you ask those questions, Grimzod just kind of takes a step or two closer and crouches down so he is eye level and just tilts his head slightly. And there's just the faintest flash of light that you can kind of see go across his mouth through the slats in his mask. And you see the white of sharp teeth underneath. You are a strange creature, aren't you?
I have heard that numerous times. I believe it may be true. But evidence is still being gathered.
He looks, kind of slides eyes over and up towards Ileana. An entire crew of strange creatures, it seems.
Are you not the strange one among us?
Considering there's a ship full of creatures just like me, and none like any of you. I would say no.
I don't know many ships that follow along a bloodstorm like that. So I think you are the most unique out of us.
You know what I don't know? Is how you and Topla seem to know each other. Not much of a reason for a pirate to stop out here in the middle of nowhere for a tower. You're not gonna raid it, are you?
It's because they're in love, dummy.
At the exact same time, you get echoing "No, we aren't" from both Topla
That
and
gets a smirk from Billy.
Booker, like, he doesn't show it from his, like, on his face, but you can see his eyebrows raise in this, like, there it is. Well, good to know that you're all on good terms then. And he will eye both of them, trying to determine if they are on good terms.
Happy to have provided service today.
the Topla and Garganhall just like as you're eyeing them, they are very clearly not looking at each other. But as you say, on good terms, there is a snort from Crux.
Okay.
Buttons flipping to the section on their book on humanoid behavior.
And Garganhall just slowly stands up. And for your information, I was not flying along with the Bloodstorm. It formed around us.
Booker eyebrows go up again, and in a little bit of oh, I see.
And as he says that, Topla does look in his direction and kind of places her hands on her hips, tilts her head. So I'm assuming that's where the rest of the ships went. And Garganhall just nods. We came up against a astral moth armada. They figured out how to hide their presence, at least for a time.
Hide it until it's maybe too late to detect them, and then suddenly they're all over you.
And he nods.
Booker's moves his jaw kind of left and right in this frustrated thought gesture. He goes, so you know about all them crystalline vine crystal creatures, right?
I know a bit. It's been a long time since I've been planet side anywhere, let alone a planet side on a planet that they are taking over, but I have seen them.
Know any good strategies to for dealing with them? Any tips?
And he tilts his head, and it is now Booker's turn to kind of get examined very closely. What is Booker's kind of expression as he is asking this question?
So Booker kind of stands, like, shoulders back a little bit. Not quite puffing his chest out, but he stands shoulders back. and he has his chin kind of poked out, and he is trying to be very, very placid and unmoving in his expression. He is in a sort of like he is trying to get as much information as he can while giving as little information away as possible. Because he thinks information is having information gives him a leg up on people. And so he is you can see he's trying to play this game of like, tell me what you know and maybe I'll tell you what I know. Maybe it's for our mutual benefit.
Garganhall is kind of examining Booker pretty closely. And you can see him his eyes go across your face and down, and then meets your eyes again, and you can see him look up at your horns. And then tilts his head and kind of look behind you. And then meet your eyes again. And Booker, you're almost certain that he is putting together puzzle pieces that you may or may not like people putting together. And he just kind of lets out this little hum. Tips on how to deal with the vines or the monsters.
Both if you have them. I assume
Huh?
you're not a fan of them.
Hardly. Monsters are easy enough to break. They won't stop coming until whatever they are sprouting from is destroyed or killed. The vines, well, I've never heard of any of the vines that burrow into the planets actually being destroyed. Not yet. The bits and pieces they drop on ships, however, well, dig them out fast enough, and it solves your problems.
I think the best way to solve our problem with this would be to stop it at the source. No more seeds, no more problem.
And he lifts his hand, just like a finger in the air, and that very much that gesture of, and there you go. The way you say that makes it sound like that's what you're wanting to do. Am I correct? He kind of looks across the crew as he asks that.
We have a vested interest in stopping it before it gets any worse, any more out of hand. For some of us, for our own personal reasons. Others, because there just happens to be a little bit of good inside him somewhere, buried way deep down in there. And his eyes flick over to Trixie and Button.
I, for one, am against genocide.
I mean, maybe if we're lucky, we'll find a sex for some other planets too.
A what for some?
Could you
what?
please repeat that, Iris?
A fix for the other planets as well.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I think me and Joe heard the same thing.
I heard it too. I was just waiting for somebody else to be like, what the fuck? And Grimzod just. There is a little kind of squint to his eyes, and you can tell He's smiling as he places his hand on his hip. And Lefty has already scurried back up to his shoulder after he crouched down in front of Button. Well, then we might just have aligned goals. What do you say to a deal?
I'm interested. Curious.
And
Depends on the deal.
he just looks to you, Booker. I know a few things. I have a few things that you will probably be very interested in. And if the goal here is to take the fight to the Empire, well, I can't say that I am anything but pleased with that idea. In exchange for some, let's just say, equitable sharing of information and strength. I just need your crew to agree to a few things. Call it a code of behavior that my crew has already agreed to. Plus a little deal about how things are handled.
Booker, like, very appraisingly looks him up and down and gives him a nod. We're listening.
And he holds up a hand and holds up a single finger. One. It may not be something that any of you would think of, but it is necessary. There is no eating the flesh or blood of another member of the crew, or an aligned crew.
He pats Liliana on the shoulder.
Number two, there is no hymns nor any religious iconography, at least not in the open. My crew members, some are sensitive to holy sounds and images. Number
Makes
three,
sense.
Yeah, Ghost Ship. That's on track.
Number three, there is a consequence to cowardice. Any who abandon post or shirk duty are marooned with the next pocket of air. 4, no shipboard conflicts. Any disputes that you might have between your crew or between your crew and mine has to be settled on land and not aboard a vessel. And 5, if we take any ships that We decide no longer need their captain, and they are flight worthy. I get first choice.
Booker
Z,
will look back to the crew. Oh, go ahead. What's up?
I was just thinking about this. He hasn't mentioned why he uh is against the Empire, right?
No.
I mean, it's not too much of a stretch, given that this guy's living the pirate life, and an empire is strictly like a an intense governing force. So it
Hmm.
kind of jives. Like even if he doesn't have a personal stake in it, that he's against an empire just on principle of them being an empire.
I don't know. I just the vibe I got was that like he has more personal reasons, and I don't know.
Oh, I see. That could be part of the deal.
Can
We could strike up and ask him.
yeah, like can I insight check him or like
Sure, we can incite him.
team? Or,
I mean, what he's saying thus far, he's carrying himself with a confidence and an assurance of what he is saying, and he doesn't seem to be lying, from what you can tell.
I guess I could just straight up ask him, huh? Before we like I don't know, make some kind of deal or whatever, why are you against this empire? No offense, but you don't really seem like the heroic type.
There's just a little kind of scoffing noise as he looks towards you, Trixie.
Kind of shrugs in response.
I would certainly not call myself the hero. But then again, so many that do don't deserve the title either. Why would you think I might be against the Empire? Certainly, if you are so eager to go against them, to root them out at the source, you must know some, if not much, of what they do.
I'm a little confused. I'm sorry.
He's essentially just saying, like, well, why would you think that? You have dealt with them.
Mm.
Asking, basically like you've seen what they do,
Yeah.
and if you cross paths with them, they're probably gonna fuck you up.
So it's more of a self-preservation thing, like in general, not a personal vendetta kind of thing.
Well, it could be personal.
True, but that's how he's playing it off, though.
Hmm. At least I think.
Yeah, I mean, fair point. You just, I don't know. if you have a lot of information, I just figured there'd be a bit more personal. That's all.
How? Hell, let's just say right now, it's as personal as losing 5 ships in the past day. It's personal as losing 8 ships over the past month. Galleons and wasps and lampreys. Do you know how many lives were cut short yet again on crews of that size?
So it is personal. Don't get me wrong. I respect event. I'm amenable to your deal.
We do need ships, though. So I don't know, I'm a bit nervous about that last. I'm a bit concerned about that last.
The part about the first ship?
Well, he says he wants the first pick, but like, aren't we supposed to be building a crew or some shit?
Hey, if we build it and end up giving it to him, but he's allied with us, no skin off my bones. All I need is the one ship. And he holds up one finger to punctuate the point.
Well, that's true, but I am also worried about our capital for this little venture of ours. We're going to need money, equipment, and soldiers for this. It can't be just us, right?
It won't be. Say we give you first pick of the ship. You're on board with us till we get to see all of that empire go down. We use whatever ships that you take claim to help us bring it to the ground, bring the empire to the ground. After which, we can all part ways, and whomsoever believes they still want something, some part of the claim of the ship, you can parlay with them. But in the interim, all hands on deck across every ship until we pull the problem out at the source. And Booker punctuates the end of his sentence with that, like, closed fist gesture.
Garganhall just kind of like watched each of you as you spoke and gives a little nod to Booker. That is a deal I could see myself working with, though I will need every one of you to agree to all parts of the deal.
I also have another bit of a thing I'd like to discuss if possible.
In private, or?
Well, it's going to be brought up to him anyways.
Fair enough.
If someone shirks their duties or runs, they don't get marooned at the first air pocket. They're left on some kind of planet.
And he kind of tilts his head. If you would like to wait until there is a planet, then whoever must wait until then stays in your break, breathes your air, eats your food.
Trixie looks to the crew. I'm fine with that. I don't think anyone's going to do that anyways, so there shouldn't be much to worry about, right?
Yeah. Booker kind of tilts his head back and forth and he weighs it. If he um, thinking about it, he can't really seem to find any significant hole in the argument that gives him any kind of intense worry. So he simply nods and just, like, kind of gives Trixie like an affirmative. Seems amenable to me. I don't mind housing someone who needs to be thrown in the brig. No skin off my bones. Pardon if you have any skeletons aboard.
I'd like to set up some form of communication to make negotiating and further things possible. We have a couple spare people. Why don't we trade, what's the word, envoys? Ambassadors? Looks to Bucker as if he would somehow know the answer to this.
Well, the easy way of communication, if we're sailing close enough to each other, is agony.
It's agony?
He just nods. Our ghost, bound to the ship for eternity, but able to travel some distance between ships.
Oh, Agony is okay. Agony is a crewmate.
This okay, if you'd be happy to lend us one that we could send back to you if we need to talk or something like that.
Sure.
Agony can come speak to you once a day. Return to the ship. You'll forgive me for being reluctant to offer any of my crew to you. I doubt any of you would be particularly pleased with them around meal times.
Or just kind of nods slowly.
Nor
Looks to
would any
Liliana.
of us be able to feed any of you properly.
Makes sense.
Technically, Button doesn't eat.
He doesn't fucking
Ten-
know that.
Yeah, I know.
Technically, Lily doesn't need to eat either. She just needs sunlight.
Yeah, sunlight and water. But I will remind
And
you,
water.
these are undead. They don't need anything. Well, they need blood, which they find from less than pleasant means sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And Button just straight up doesn't need anything.
Are there any other caveats to our deal?
Oh, I can't fucking think any.
Oh, Trixie will move over to Booker and kind of, like, I imagine she was kind of on the other side of, I forget his name, the dude, and kind of wraps around him and goes over to where Booker was and starts whispering to him. I assume it's not part of it, but like, can't have the ladybugs. It's not our ship, and the nautiloid. Like, we probably should leave those two out of the deal.
Booker will he nods, and then Booker looks and says, "One proviso. As for the ships we encounter and how you lay claim to them, it's only ships we encounter from here forward. We have friends of ours who have their own ships with their own claim to them, and we have our own ship. Any new ones we encounter that we didn't have before, those can be parlayed whether you keep them or not." Not too restrictive for your taste, I hope.
He just kind of
I
tilts his head.
think it might be a good idea to get a source of information on what we can expect as well. If you have any dealings with these that we don't know already, it might be good to toss into the mix.
We will share information so long as we come to a deal. And as for the ships, I did say ships that we, and he gestures around, decide no longer need their captain. Your ship and presumably the ship of your friend is safe. Unless there is a decision of some sort of mutiny I am unaware of.
Booker shakes his head once and gives a firm nod, like he seems satisfied, and then he'll look to Trixie for further confirmation.
I'm all aboard, she says as she puts her hands behind her head in her usual laid back stance.
Seems we're in agreement. Unless any of you behind me here have any last protestations.
Talking to the NPCs.
Talking to the NPCs, and also Button and Liliana if they have anything to object to.
No, I think we've covered most of it.
As you kind of
Crux.
look back, Crux
Mm-hmm.
looks very unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
That is the darkest expression you have seen on that man's face. And he just kind of meets your eyes. You're seriously going to make a deal with a pirate?
Believe it or
Booker.
not, in situations like this, pirates are the most trustworthy people you can come across.
Yeah. Booker raises an eyebrow and looks to Liliana and shrugs and nods. He's like, "Man makes deals. I'm amenable to someone who has mutual interests of my own. A business person."
You did say we needed people.
You can see his jaw working, and Flinch just kind of takes a half step away, widening the distance. You just see Flinch just kind of shrug. Well, the times like this, beggars can't be choosers, so I don't have any issue. And as he says that, Crux, his head just kind of snaps around. He looks down at Flinch. Button, roll me perception. As Crux, his head snaps around, looks at Flinch, and then looks back to all of you. And then his eyes drift towards Grimzod. And he sets aside the gun, which has been put back together. Stands up to his full height. Kind of takes like a half step forward. You're not playing any tricks this time, are you? And Grimzod just kind of holds up his hands. It's like innocent gesture. This time, our needs align. No one would ever accuse me of being anything but a little self-interested. As he says that, there's just this some noise that is disguised by a cough from Topla on the opposite side of the room.
Can I roll to interpret her quote unquote cough?
Sure, give me insight.
I just want to know. I just want to know. 14 that might not be enough.
It is not angry. It seems more amused or sarcastic. You can't tell which. But very much caught by, that's rude. Don't do that. And that's why she coughed. But it's not anger, at the very least. And as that noise kind of echoes around the room, there's just the tiniest flinch from Grimzod. And he crosses his arms. And as he crosses his arms, Lefty scuttles down and seems to settle itself back on his arm to make the position more comfortable. I swear to you, Crux, that until such time as the Empire is handled, so long as our deal is maintained and kept to, your friends here have nothing to worry about from me. In the future, should we survive this endeavor, and the Empire is gone, I can't speak to our meetings, but a temporary truce is better than none. And Crux just, you see, if he could have steam coming out his ears, there would be steam coming out his ears. But he takes a breath and kind of looks towards Booker, and then Liliana, and then Trixie.
If I may, since Trixie does have her telepathy, she'll send over to Crux, like, if you have some kind of reason that you don't want us to work with this guy, like, say it now.
His eyes kind of linger on you, Trixie. Where he looks back towards Grimzod. All of you should know just how Grimzod and I first met. And Grimzod just kind of rolls his eyes and shakes his head. And Button, as you're looking out the door towards the galleon. 22. See, the crew is, rather than going below deck as you might expect, in the middle of the high winds and the cracking lightning above, they're still on deck. They're still moving around. And you see that some of the sails are being unfurled.
Bruh.
Sorry, I forgot to change my mic back. Now I know why I had been ignored.
Oh no.
Whoops.
Okay, you've been surprisingly silent. It's sad.
My bad. I had many comments, all of which have been forgotten. Moving on. So the sails are being unfurled as
Yes.
if they're about to set off again?
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. One would presume they came here to wait out the storm, right?
Possibly, or at least, like,
Stop by and
they
say hi?
they did say they were going to wait here for a bit.
Uh-huh.
It seems like somebody is fucking with the sails, and maybe Captain here don't know about it.
Hmm. So, just quick. I'm assuming this is not good sailing weather.
No, not good sailing weather.
Okay. So, Button, just eyes looking out. Not looking back at the group, will just speak up. I did not realize you were taking the risk to sail in this weather. I advise against this.
And Grimsall just kind of like eyes shift towards Button, and there's a little furrow of the brow. What are you talking about?
Your sails. They are being unfurled. In their state. That will not bode well in this storm.
As you say that, he immediately uncrosses his arms and starts heading towards the door. And all of you can roll me. Let's see here. All of you can roll me an Arcana.
Eh? Eh.
Oh! Not a nat one, at least.
You're still positive. On the bright side.
I'm sorry, Iris. That was just funny.
Aw.
As he starts to move towards the door, there is a very distinct, and all of you can feel it, shift in energy. Not just as he immediately goes to alert and on guard and aggressive, but in another energy in the air. And as Button, you kind of look towards him to watch him and make sure you're out of his way as he's moving. As he walks, you and Micken are able to just trace a faint ripple of magic fly through the doorway, past him, and land on Flinch, who goes from looking kind of uncomfortable and tired because of what Crux is saying and how Crux is acting, towards completely blank for a moment before he dives at Grimzod and tackles him to the ground.
What the fuck?
Okay, so where did this come from? So, magic from Grimzod flies to
Grab magic
from
outside. Magic flies through the doorway
outside.
past
Okay.
Grimzod to
Okay.
Flinch. And it's just very subtle. It's just because you happen to be looking in the right direction. Almost like the heat waves you see on the road in front of you in summer. Do those have an actual name? I feel like they have an
Heat
actual
waves.
I would assume just heat waves. There probably is a scientific term for it, but I don't know it.
name. And as Flinch tackles Grimzod to the ground and Grimzod twists and turns and you see a hand, or like his arm with his actual hand has been pinned to his side, and he is just kind of flailing with his stump, smacking at Flinch, and Lefty has crawled down and is like grabbed onto Flinch's head, squeezing and
Oh
attempting
god.
to pull.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Booker's
Can
gonna
we-
grab Flinch and try to yank Flinch off. I
Yeah,
have a
just
suspicion
fucking
of smell.
yank.
As everybody descends with like 4 of you with Crux too, because Crux will also move to help. Start to pull them apart. It's not that hard to pull them apart with that many bodies and that many hands. Though Flinch seems to be trying to grasp and grapple back onto him, struggling against your hands. And it is Button as the closest one. You grab onto Grimzod and kind of help him up, and then it's your job to grab his remaining hand to keep him from swinging and clawing. And Lefty is still stuck to Flinch's head, just squeezing and like Flinch's brows have been pulled back and his eyes are wide, and all of you can see just this blank look in his eyes,
Mm.
glassed over, and then a voice that is not his own comes falling from his mouth as he continues to struggle, but it gets a little weaker. Captain Garganhall, your command of the last breath is at an end. We've enough of you for the past 10 lifetimes. We are going to take her back and make a deal with the Empire. We hope that you are there to fall before them. And as the last words fall from Flinch's mouth, you can see him start to kind of stop fighting and more twitching, and there is a ghostly green figure that seems to get ejected from his body, tumbling out till he floats in the middle of all of you looking around, and you see the almost skeletal thin figure of some sort of humanoid. His hair and his face partially hidden by a hood. The tatters of his clothing hanging off his body. And he just smiles at all of you and looks back towards Garganhall and wiggles his fingers in a little bye gesture and pops out of existence.
Turn back to Garganhall. What in the nine hell was that all about?
In Garganhall, he still has his mask on, but the twisting of his eyes and the creases of his forehead, he looks more animal than human. As he wrenches his hand away from Button and charges out the door, and you can just hear him screaming in Infernal. As all of you stumble after, you see that the last breath has pulled the last line from the asteroid and is turning away, starting to sail back in towards the astral sea.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Of all the times to have a fucking mutiny pulled on you, you had to pick right when we fucking make a deal.
Garganhall turns, and there is a feralness to his posture. As he stalks a couple steps closer, you see his hand curled and his claws more like talons than nails. As he looks directly in your eyes, Booker. We have to get that ship back.
Yeah, no fucking kidding. The Booker look around and look at the crew and be like, I guess we're sailing in the storm. And he's gonna make a break for the ship. The Ladybug, that is.
We're seriously doing this.
Button's gonna fucking grab onto Booker's fucking pants leg. It's like, this is a storm.
Yeah, and he's our only ally with our only other ship. You want to take on an empire with one less boat? Not me. And Booker's gonna go to the ship?
As you guys try to stop Booker, Garganhall will start to move after him, and when you guys pause Booker just long enough, he will snap around and grab the closest shoulder, which would be Trixie's. Looks her in the eyes. You want the vines off your planet? The only way to get them off is on that ship.
Trixie looked a little kind of like she's concerned about going out in the storm. But his intensity kind of takes her off guard, and she looks to Button and Micken with a look of sorry guys.
Well, Button's eyes are zeroed in on him. He said he looks like fucking feral now.
Yes.
Button is going to step forward and take your hands off of Trixie, and I will fly the ship.
He looks down at Button. And the dark red eyes that you have seen him have this entire time have brightened to this flashing crimson as he just stares for a moment, and Trixie, you can feel him have to like force one finger at a time to let go, and then he turns and stalks after Booker, heading towards the ship.
Let's fucking go! It's ship fight time! Let's fucking do this!
Okay.
And
Then just sorry, again.
no, say whatever you guys are saying, because this is going to be the end of the session.
Mm-hmm. Then just turn to Trixie like, you are not hurt, correct?
I'm fine. I know this is gonna be really dangerous to go out in the storm, but like I think we'll be fine. We just shouldn't let him push us around. Can we agree on that? To Button and Micken.
Of course.
Micken just kind of rubbing the back of his neck. Do you think he meant what he said? He has a way to get the vines off?
What I'm betting on. That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Okay. We will. Well, I guess we're gonna do this.
Button nods. And you'll start walking. And as they start walking towards the ship, they will just turn their head at approximately a 165-degree angle to the right. You know, just a little more than one would normally be able to look over their shoulder. Just slightly. If he does that again, let me know. I will handle it.
You'll be the first to know. Thanks, Button.
Nod.
Uh,
Turn. Confirmation from Micken.
Just little nod from Micken. You don't have any issues with him telling you when weird shit happens, though, because he makes noises. He
Nod.
screams.
Button is satisfied. Button is ready to stab a bitch if they hurt their friends.
Miss Topla?
And you see Topla just like on the stoop of the tower. Just kind of looks your direction.
The thing we needed. Can I just grab that? We can go, or
And she nods, just kind of gestures up towards the top of the tower. And we'll walk over to Button and hand what looks to be almost a piece of obsidian. Though there's something a little off about it. Take this and use it in the ore ray. Should get you where you need to go.
Button will nod and put it very safely. I imagine they put it inside of one of the little map scroll thingies. Just container for safety. Into their bag it goes. Thank you. I will use this.
She nods. And don't be too harsh on him. Grimzard is strange fella, but he's not half bad once you get to know him. And she just kind of turns and heads back into her tower. I assume Trixie flew up to just go through the window at the top.
Yeah, Trixie's like, you guys start heading there. I'll catch up. And then let out her wings and went to go get the item.
So you guys now have the orrery. You now have something that she at least claims is from Doomspace to guide you to Doomspace. And you all head to the Lady Luck, detach her, and set sail into the storm after the last breath. And that's where we're going to end it tonight.
Hell yeah. Easy. Mission accomplished.